And I'm Chris Evans.
And this is Georgia Living Podcast. Welcome back. It is episode 18. Can you believe it?
Oh, I can't, but we've got a great lineup.
Yeah, seriously. We've done a lot. It is Cobb County winter break right now, but we've had a lot going on. You want to start us off, Chris?
Yeah, so, winter break, in case we haven't had the kids at home enough, we've got them back again.
I know. It always seems like every time they go on break, then they're back, in school, and then we celebrate, and then by the time we know it, they're back again.
Well, I think through the winter it goes like sickness break, sickness break, sickness break. So it's like it's never a constant right now, because the moment we get back into a normal routine, somebody gets sick, they come out, and then as like this past week, Mom was sick. And now she's feeling better. So fortunately, we're able to come into the studio today because we have somebody to watch the kids, so you don't hear them screaming in the back of this show, because that's all you would hear. I
really think that this whole thing is, the four viruses or the four illnesses, I want to say.
Yeah.
RSV, flu, COVID, all of that has been going on. It's been going on kind of through Christmas. Hopefully, we're on the tail end of it.
I would imagine we are.
Maybe.
Well, it's starting to warm up, and then, now we're back into second winter. So we had first spring last week. Now we're in second winter. We're going to go into second spring maybe next week, and then there might be talk of another polar vortex coming. I don't know. Glenn Burns is posting all about this online. It's a weird season this year.
He's adorable.
I
mean, he used to be the chief meteorologist for Channel 2, which is a local channel here, and WSB TV. He is a fanatic of weather, and it's so cute, I think. He still updates everyone. He's going on and on about the polar vortexes right now. Apparently, we're not supposed to have vortexes. We're only supposed to have them like once every 2 years.
Yeah,
we've had 10 this year.
One every 2 years, and this year we've had 10 polar vortex events. Yeah.
It's definitely tickling him, so he's all giddy about it, and I think it's so cute. I'll follow him just for that excitement. So, you went to a local group.
I did.
Sweet.
Last week I got invited to check out the Marietta Kiwanis group.
Yes. And you have to thank somebody for that.
Yeah. Huge shout out to Joan Bloom, former magistrate court judge here in Cobb County, for allowing me to be her guest for lunch and learn a little bit more about the Marietta Kiwanis group. Fun fact, so we talk about placing flags a lot in our family because our kids are in CAR, which that's one of their service projects.
Children of the American Revolution.
Exactly. And the Marietta Kiwanis group coordinates all of the flag planting throughout Marietta City. So all around the square, down 120, Roswell Street, the cemeteries, like it is thousands of flags that they put up.
It takes a lot of manpower too, because we do help them take down some stuff, just because the sheer manpower that's needed, and they do so much good work here. Yeah,
they sure do. While we were there, I got to learn a little bit about what's happening in Marietta City schools, and this is pretty cool. So dealing with cell phones in the school and the classroom environment has become a big issue for educators and staff and teachers and basically all of the schools, because you've got to balance the attention of the students with the need of them to be able to communicate and have that contact to the outside world. So what we had a speaker at the Kiwanis organization, and one thing that Marietta Middle School has done is implemented a secure pouch program. They have these lockable pouches that in the morning, the students get a pouch, they put their phone in it, they are able to carry the phone with them all day. So the phone never leaves their side. It means that the school is not liable for anything that's lost or stolen, because, that's a big concern for schools nowadays. These phones are $1,000 each. You got 1,000 students in your school. You've got a lot of money on your hands that you're responsible for. So these pouches stay with the students all day. At the end of the day, the teacher comes around with this specialized magnet and releases the pouch to let the phones out. So this is just in Marietta Middle School right now. This isn't Cobb County. This is Marietta City has its own school district. And in doing so, what they found is that there was something like, I want to say it was a 22% increase in a positive increase in the students' ability to learn. Now, this is surveys from the students. So the students themselves say, having this program makes it a lot easier for me to learn because there's less distractions. The teacher doesn't have to, stop and interrupt class when phones are out. Funny enough, there was a 60-something, I want to say like a 62 or 68% reduction in stress for the educators in how they're able to operate in the classroom, because again, they don't have to interrupt their classroom. They don't have to think in the middle of teaching and make these decisions. Hey, do I want to interrupt what I'm doing now to enforce this phone rule and build and use all of that kind of goodwill that I built up with this student for the last 6 weeks? Or do I let them continue to play in the back of the class with their phone? It becomes this giant mental hurdle for educators. And now what they're doing is CHOA, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and I believe he said Emory University were doing a combined study on the impacts of the student and the behavior. And the results aren't out yet, but basically this gentleman got a call from the survey people, and they're like, I just want you to know, because it's going to be a while before this is out, you're doing it. Like, this is working really well. The numbers are positive across the board. And what they found is it actually even reduced the number of fights that were happening at school. Because, back in my day, if there was a fight at school, it's done where people didn't see, because you didn't want to be interrupted. You wanted to get that business taken care of. Well,
I don't know. I've never been in a fight at school.
I don't think I have either, but I've been around friends that did, and it was always off and it was away from people. Well, now the whole trend
behind the school.
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah,
that's a movie.
No, that actually happened. Osborne High School. There was a cross country track, and that was where people would go and settle their stuff.
We lived in a different time, Chris. I mean,
we did, because
we did not have these cell phones. Everyone passed notes that were actually paper, so you had to write it with the pencil. And you know what? You're actually getting, I guess, narrative practice with that.
Well, it's so funny you bring that up, because, okay, one, let me finish with this fight thing. Students today, now they aim for like an 8-second fight. They do it where everybody's crowded, everybody knows it's going to happen because everybody has their phone out. It's all for social media. So it's being recorded. Without having all the phones during the day, that has not become as prevalent. So fighting is less. And interestingly enough, how you mentioned passing notes, this gentleman, his daughter goes to Marietta Middle School, and I guess she got a letter in her locker from somebody asking her out. It wasn't a text message.
Sweet.
It wasn't on social media. It was a handwritten letter.
Aww.
And
in pen and ink, like the dip ink.
I don't know.
Just kidding.
I didn't see it, but it was
written with a quill.
Probably not. So it's bringing that back, right? Now, one of the challenges that we are going to have over the next few years is, how does this get rolled out in an effective way amongst other schools?
I've got a few questions about this.
Go ahead.
So, they might not have addressed this, but so I haven't seen this pouch that you're talking about. What if it is a pouch and you forgot to turn off your ringer, and then it starts ringing in the pouch, and then you can't get it to stop, or what do you do?
So there are different rollouts, and the way that Marietta is rolling it out is every teacher has access to one of the secure tools in the classroom. So if somebody forgot it, the teacher could open it up, they could turn it off, and then lock it back up. And the reason why they do this is because in the event of an emergency, they do want the kids to be able to unlock them.
Okay.
Right?
So it's not going to be like in our generation, like a Tamagotchi that was left in a locker and then it starts beeping because it has poop all over its screen. So, and then everyone's trying to figure out which locker it's from. I'm not talking from personal experience.
You're not? Okay. We'll go with that. No, it shouldn't be like that. Now, it's interesting because different schools are trying different measures and there's like different abilities. So some schools you can actually get a locker and that locker stays in the classroom. And in which case,
they're not using lockers anymore, are they?
No, it's like a device locker. It's like a giant chest that can lock up like 30 or 40 phones all at once.
See, fewer kids are going to get shoved in lockers now.
They're not using, lockers are becoming a thing of the past.
That never happened.
Well, you saw the new Osborne High School. There were no lockers.
No
there.
lockers? Yeah.
No, it was just
one of the first things that we figured out. We were like, wow, this is a lot of open space. What's missing? Lockers.
Yeah.
But then again, I never really used my locker either. It was so far away from anything.
I use my locker all the time. I hated carrying stuff.
Well, I didn't like carrying stuff either, but I mean, to get to my locker to put the stuff away.
Oh, that's because you were in the IB program.
It was
so
too far.
They kept you in a different wing of the school. You weren't with the general population. You were with all the smart kids. So great work is going on right here in our backyard. Marietta Middle School is being used as kind of a testing ground because what they're also finding is that the kids in athletics are performing better because they're not dealing with the drama on social media all day before they get to the field. So when they're getting to the field, they are they're more focused, they're engaged in what they're supposed to be doing, and they're not, dealing with 20, 30 minutes of drama to kind of settle these kids in before they get into their athletics, which has apparently caught the eye of Arthur Blank.
Really?
And the Arthur Blank Foundation, because they are big into athletics, right? Anything, that's what he does. So anything that's going to get a competitive edge for kids on the athletic field. So
that's so good. But we have to remember that these are younger adults, or kids that are becoming adults, and it's still hard for us in middle age, and I hate saying that, middle age, to focus whenever we have distractions too. So I can't even imagine what it's like for them.
Object.
Yeah, what is it like for them, right? Like, they have this device that is brand new, they have friends, and then of course they want to talk, right? But my question is, how long is it going to take for them to figure out a lock or a key for that lock?
Not long. It's a specialized magnet. But
right. It's a magnet.
Here's the deal. If you're always going to have some that are messing around with it and trying to kind of go around the system. But in implementing a system as a whole, if you can get 80 or 85% adoption without issue, you're improving 85% of the students' lives and attention and academic performance. Now, this is in the middle school. High school conversations right now are going on around how this is going to get implemented in Marietta High. And, they're involving the parents in the community. There's some big concerns from parents, especially of high schoolers. I want my kid to have access to their phone. I want them to be able to text me. Whatever parents would want to hear from their kids.
In our day, this was the pager conversation.
Yeah. It was also cell phones, but, texting cost 10 cents each. We didn't do it much.
But still, some of us had pagers for over-worried parents, right?
I don't know. I didn't want to talk to my parents. I didn't want my parents talking to me during the day, right? I'm out there doing my own thing.
Okay, but so I went to school 7 miles away from my home, which was with traffic, and even though it was a long time ago, we still had Atlanta traffic. It's been known to be bad for years. And being that far away in high school, and I wasn't the only kid that went to school far away.
No, and I got a cell phone when I got a car too.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessary before I had the car, right? And it was necessary when I got the car, but did I ever need it at school? No. I needed my phone when I was out driving and I got into an accident.
I don't think
because I wasn't paying attention and I rear-ended somebody
anymore.
I know yours and I know your dad's, and I know the office, and that's about it.
That's it. Everything else is, oh, wow. Wow.
So-
we live in a different time now.
So the parents have a couple of different arguments against this. One is that they want their kid to have access to it. On the high school level, they're thinking about assigning the pouches as part of like the curriculum for the year, right? So you get your books, you get your pouch. It's on you at all times. Other parents want access to their kids if there's an emergency. But one of the things they brought up, which is really important, is that if there is an emergency at school, I certainly don't want my kid texting me. I want them paying attention to the people who are telling them what to do during the emergency, right? And that was one of the arguments made. I mean, I've been through a couple of emergencies. We've had evacuations at my school when I was younger, where we were all brought out onto the football field from somebody doing something stupid.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Yeah.
So, not saying that, this is going to happen with school shootings or anything, but when those things happen, you had a lot of students texting their parents and then real-time updates, right? So does that put more pressure on the teachers and the admin and the law enforcement around there to do a better job?
I mean, that's a good question. I think the data points would certainly allow for more us to be able to analyze that better in like a hindsight way, but you never know until afterwards. I think that there's a good balance that they're trying to strike, right? They don't want to take the phones away from kids, but they're trying to make it so that children are focusing. Again, when it talks about statistics, statistically relevant like moves in performance would be like a 3% year over year adjustment. We're talking 22% of
That's
students have said that we're learning better. We're talking 60-something% of teachers are less stressed.
It's worth it.
If all it is our educators are dealing with less stress in the classroom, then I'm all for it.
So, yeah, that's a good argument to make. I mean, I was just playing devil's advocate there.
Oh, absolutely.
So, for those of you who are not familiar, because this is, Georgia Living Podcast, and we embrace all people who have lived here for a very long time, like we have. I am second generation Georgian. You came from Massachusetts, but you've been here since very long, 90s.
I've been here since I was 11.
Yes, but some people haven't. We've had a huge influx of people coming in from other states, California, Texas, up north where you're from. So, welcome.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
All right. Hi. But, there is a distinction in a lot of places, and specifically in Cobb County. I'm going to focus on that since we live here. We have two school systems, correct?
Generally, your school is handled by the county level unless you're in an incorporated city.
Yes, and we are talking about these pouches for the Marietta City school system. This is not Cobb County. So there is a huge difference. They do have, I think, just how many elementary? I don't know how many elementary schools they have.
I don't know about. I think they have one elementary, one middle, and one high school.
Okay, so this is going to be
large.
Around the Marietta Square area.
Just north of it.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go into boundaries or anything like that, but you can look that up online.
Just Google Marietta City District.
Yeah, and you'll see the boundaries for that. But it's really important when you're talking about real estate here, because that's what we do professionally. You have those two different things. So don't just think coming to Cobb County, you're going to be in Cobb County school systems. You might actually be in Marietta City schools. Not saying that one's better than the other, just saying that watch out.
Greatschools.org will tell you which one's better than the other. But, fair housing. We don't. We're just here to help you find the right homes. So when with Marietta, there's a couple of programs going on around the city that are trying different things. So there's one school in Atlanta that's doing something like this. There's one school in DeKalb. I want to say the Lovett School was doing something. And the funny thing that the speaker said is that with the private schools, the enforcement is a whole lot easier because they'll just say, if you don't follow the rules, we'll kick you out and keep your money.
It is correct. I went to a private school. I went to the Walker School, which historically is the original Sprayberry High School.
Which is
you didn't know that.
You just taught me this last week.
Yeah.
So overall, thank you to the Kiwanis organization, Marietta Kiwanis. Great group of people, all committed to making this community a lot better. Looking forward to submitting my application there, seeing if I get to join that group. And
I'm glad you found a group of people that you really liked because
I did, yeah.
Being in a civic organization is so nice, and having that bit of structure, not having to make things up yourself and just joining a group to do these great things around our city is just fabulous, I think.
Finding the right civic organization isn't always easy.
No, they're all different kinds. It's just kind of like Greek life, I want to say. Every state's different. Every college is different.
You got to find what fits you.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I graduated college, I was involved with the Athens JCs. Huge shout out to those guys. But since moving out of Athens, I've kind of struggled to find a group that kind of fits like that, and I feel like the Marietta Kiwanis is a really, really great and well-run organization. So I'm excited to learn more. I'm excited to meet a lot of the members, and hopefully my application will get approved. All right, so let's switch gears because we've got some community events coming up in Cobb County. Céline, why don't you lead us off with some of this?
Yep, so we do. Okay, so I know that we're a major Metro Atlanta county, right?
Yeah, you've got the best Cobb County. Come on, y'all.
So we've got Cobb County, Fulton County, of course, City of Atlanta's in that. Then you've got Gwinnett. Then you've got
our neighbors up in Cherokee.
Yeah, and then we've got Clayton.
Don't ask me about the South Side. I know the counties that are there.
Well,
I don't know the organization.
Side, so. Yes. Anyways, so we do have 4-H.
Yeah.
You would think that this is, farmland, middle Georgia. No, we still do have 4-H. It's a little bit different, though, because we don't have as many farms here, and people are a little bit more city living.
Mm-hmm. Not many cows in Cobb County.
No, although we do drive by cow pasture every day to get to work.
There's one in East Cobb.
There's one. They are having a plant sale. So this is a great way to kick off your spring season. Just don't put it out there when it's fake, spring.
Yeah, wait until after Easter.
Always wait until after Easter. Everyone makes this mistake here in Georgia, and every tomato plant dies before Easter. Just know that, okay?
Just when you think it's getting nice, just know it's going to freeze again.
It's going to trick you.
Yeah.
Always. So this is going to be a variety of plants to enhance your garden and attract pollinators, which is great. Pollinator gardens are fantastic. Just one thing, though, with pollinator gardens, you want to make sure that it's not an invasive species because all the time you have these seed packets and they're mixed, right? It's kind of a general thing. Sometimes the seeds in there are not good for your garden, so try not to do that.
Support growing local native plants.
Yes, local native. And so the pre-order deadline is going to be February 28th, 5 p.m., and that's a Friday. And you're going to be picking it up at Jamar Miller Park, and that's going to be March 15th. See, they know. They know you can't get the plants until after Easter or really close to that. Any plants not claimed by 1 p.m. will be donated. So,
can I have my truck there ready to accept donations? Like, where are they donating? I don't know. Free admission, though. So, fantastic. Love seeing this stuff.
Yes. So, and then the next is going to be the library sale, which is huge.
Yeah, and we actually talked about this on the show last fall, right around the time we were launching, because they do this twice a year. Mm-hmm. What is this, the spring sale coming up?
Yes, so this one's over 100,000 items. Books, magazines, DVDs, CDs, vinyl,
yeah,
and more at low price. I didn't know that the library had vinyl. But, I've actually seen even video games there before, so you never know. The dates are March 7th to 9th, 2025, and then the fall one is still to be determined, but it's in October. The times are going to be Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sunday, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. The last day on Sunday, it's going to be a fill-a-box special, so bring your moving boxes if you come from somewhere else and shove that more full of stuff.
Yeah, and last year we didn't get a chance to go and check it out. We were just busy with other things, but I did drive by on my way to a showing while this was going on last year, and holy moly, the Civic Center was full. The entire parking lot was full. It's
at the Cobb Civic Center.
Yeah, right there at South Marietta Parkway and what's that, Franklin?
548 South Marietta Parkway.
Yeah, South Marietta Parkway and right there across from the QT.
It's a huge event. A lot of people really look forward to this.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to the Cobb Civic Center, it is a big I want to say they have this in the basketball arena area.
Yeah,
with the bleachers.
It's 2 stories. It's
pretty large.
Yeah, it'll be huge. And hopefully they'll have it open, but there is a concession stand inside. Whether or not they'll have food or not, I don't know. Well, you'll have to check the website for that.
But admission and parking are free, so if you just, want to walk around on a Friday, Saturday, you have nothing else to do, or you really like books, right? That's your thing. Go on and stroll around.
Yep. And then coming up March 21st to 23rd at Jim Miller Park is the Georgia Food and Wine Festival. So this is going to take place over 3 days. Friday is going to be Fired Up, which will have barbecue night with all-inclusive tastings. Saturday, Savor will sample Georgia's best culinary creations, plus 5 music and artisanal markets. That they do have VIP upgrades available. And Sunday is Fun Day. Family-friendly finale with live music, Kids Zone, and more. This event supports Safe Path, Children's Advocacy Center, and Safe Path is a great organization here in Marietta that I know the Cobb Association of Realtors has done work with and several others. So check them out because they're doing great work with kids.
To clarify, the Saturday Savor, that's like the...
Savor like the flavor, not like savor. S-A-V-O-R, not S-A-V-E-R.
Not like a coupon savor.
Yeah, sorry. I do have a Massachusetts accent still. I can't get rid of that. All right, what else do we have coming up, honey?
All right, so, this is one that we've been to before. It is a Touch a Truck and Kennesaw Summer Camps Expo. Do you remember Touch a Truck?
Oh, yeah. This was a core thing for our childhood and for our kids' childhood.
Yes, so this is really for kids who are 2, 3 years old, maybe 5, 6. Maybe not so much grade school, but starting grade school. They bring in all these large vehicles, and I don't even know what their names are, but like a backhoe, you've got large excavators. Think about all the giant Caterpillar equipment. Then you've got fire trucks, you've got ambulance, you've got... emergency, the local fire department comes and then they have that, and then they give out the hats and then the little stickers.
You can climb all on them. They usually have like bounce houses and
police
outdoor...
cars.
Yeah, I mean, everything is there. Every emergency vehicle, they'll have cars going, they'll have the lights and sirens going. This is... When we did it, there was also events going on, like the Southern Museum of Locomotive History right there, so you could go and see the General. And this is downtown Kennesaw, so 2600 Park Drive, Kennesaw, on March 1st from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And admission is free. Food and beverages will be available for purchase.
We've gotten some great photos there with James on the vehicles.
Oh my gosh,
looking in awe, because remember, they're very, very small. And then these trucks are very, very big. So it's massive compared to their body, right? So there's tiny little humans sitting in this giant truck, and it's so adorable.
Yeah, the scale is great. And while you're there is a summer camp expo going on where you'll be able to discover camp options available in our area for grades 1 to 8. And if you take advantage of it, you can snag an early bird 10% discount if you sign up at the event.
Nice. All right, well, let's talk about moving here because, we've talked about all that Georgia has to offer, well, in our area has to offer. And, maybe that's piqued an interest in somebody to come here and start, their family life, or I don't know. Come on over.
Well, we'd love to have you.
Yes.
And,
so if you do, you need to know negotiations, though, because you got to buy a house here.
Exactly. So last week we talked a little bit about Simply List. Simply List is one of our product lines that allows people to advertise their property on the MLS like an agent without paying the full fee of an agent. And you can either do that with help, where you have an agent that is assisting you for a very small fraction of a percent to help with contract, or you can do it without help, where you're on your own and you're going to negotiate by yourself. We also, and that's an even smaller fraction of a percent. That's only 0.35%, and using an agent is 0.75% to sell your house. Now, if we also have Select Realty, which is our full service arm. And this is where we spend a lot of time, is negotiating real estate deals. And, talking to negotiation experts, everybody's going to have a different stance, but generally it can be beneficial to have that third-party intermediary who is negotiating on your behalf, so there's more of a wall against emotions. Think about it like a Yeti, right? The double-walled containers.
Well, even
better
more
insulation.
Simple than that, you have mediators for everything from doing this real estate to courts to, disputes anywhere, really.
Oh, yeah.
It makes things go a lot easier.
You're going to have two opposing views trying to come together to create a contract where everybody wins. And that's our job. So this is a critical skill for buyers and sellers, and it helps finalize fair deals and ensure smooth closings. So when negotiation starts is when an offer is brought. So the very first thing that happens, Céline, you're the listing agent at Simply List. I'm representing a buyer. I want to buy your house. My buyers toured the property. I've done my research. I drafted an offer that is based in facts most of the time. Sometimes it's based in emotion because I'm representing a buyer and I have to abide by their interest. And I'm going to submit that offer to you. Now, this is going to be the initial offer. In there, I'm going to have the terms that are acceptable to my buyer, which would include your price, your contingencies, whether we're doing a due diligence. We're going to have timelines on appraisal. How long do I need to get my financing together? And we'll have other conditions in there as well. Maybe I'm going to ask your seller to leave the house in a clean, have it professionally cleaned. Maybe I'm going to ask that your seller's going to include that ride-on lawnmower because I always fancied myself as the dad that's going to ride around and mow the lawn. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to submit all those terms.
Okay.
In this initial offer, it's important for me as the agent to understand where is the buyer coming from? What is their perspective? So when I submit an offer to you, honey, what is the first thing you're going to do?
Well, if you're Simply List, then which plan are you on?
Let's say you're representing them because we're talking negotiation today. So this is a with help. Just not Simply List aside, we're just negotiation. You're the listing agent. I'm the buyer's rep.
Okay. So with that question out of the way, because I do Simply List, which is more of a, a la carte real estate, and then you do full service most of the time. We do, intermingle because we're married and we live together and, because we're married.
Last time I checked.
Yeah. And, we help each other out too. So, if it doesn't matter if they're with Simply List or not, then I'm doing the seller, right?
Yeah, I just submitted an offer to you for your listing.
Okay. So I have so much experience with contracts, and I don't say that in a boasting way. It's just the sheer number of contracts that I see come across my desk. And real estate, you have a lot of trends, or kind of sentiments, I want to say, moods. And so, some months, some years, you might have a very seller-focused mood or a buyer. It really depends. So I know the parameters of what's going on real time. A lot of people who don't sell as much as I do, they maybe remember a contract from 6 months ago, 8 months ago. That's not going to do you that much good because that's half a year ago. Sure, that's great that you got, a listing and you got this information, but can you really advise them? I'm sure you could do an okay job, right? But I know exactly, how many days of due diligence you should be within a range of it. Is it acceptable? Is it not? The home warranty that they are asking for, are other people around that area also asking for that?
Is the price reasonable?
Right. The price reasonable as well. So a lot of that is kind of an internal mental thing to where I am looking at all these segments of every bit of this contract and saying, okay, seller, you know what? This is a reasonable thing for them to ask. I've seen it on other contracts. This is a recent thing. You should feel good about this one. However, this closing cost that they are asking for is correct. It's not correct. I mean, not correct, but within the range.
Are we seeing sellers paying closing costs in this range now? Are we seeing buyers paying closing costs? What is happening in the market, and is this contract in line with the market rate? Because I'll give you an example here. In 2022, when interest rates went up, the market halted. It came to a screeching stop, but there were still buyers out there, so there were still plenty of listings. But what ended up happening is the sellers had a disconnect between the buyers now that they had to reconcile because interest rates went up. Buyers no longer had the ability to put $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 over ask. And now the sellers are sitting here thinking, what just happened? I thought I was going to list this property and make an extra $50K, and now this is becoming hard.
That was a very difficult time, and that was an extreme example of, an abrupt
Yeah, it was
halt.
very black and white.
Usually there's shades of gray.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like trending towards something or trending away from something. So that's usually what I can tell. And then I talk to the seller and say, okay, this is acceptable, it's not. What do you think? And then we come up with a game plan together. And if there is anything, we write up a counter offer. And we go back to the buyer saying, hey, these are our thoughts on what you presented us. Can we come to an agreement somewhere? Let's talk. And that is definitely an art.
It is always an art. And, if you're going to be doing negotiation by yourself, I would highly recommend you look up Chris Voss. CHRISVOSS. Chris Voss used to be the lead FBI international hostage negotiator, and he's an author and a coach on negotiation now. He has a book called Never Split the Difference, and he has a masterclass online. So within a few hours, you can get all of his information. When negotiating, you're always going to do it from a position of fact and data, not from a position of emotion. You want something that's calculable and that you can say, look, this is our hard stop, because
provable.
Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, if you're going to counter me, maybe I asked for too much. Maybe I offered lower than what the house is worth initially because the house was overpriced, and my goal is maybe to try and get us to meet somewhere a little bit closer to what the valuation is.
They're all different types of tactics.
Yep. Maybe you're countering on timeline. Maybe all of my terms were great, but your seller's not going to be in town when I want to close the property. So you're just going to counter on a couple of things, maybe some administrative corrections, or maybe you're going to counter with everything and say, my offer sucked. Maybe you don't even counter at all. You just outright reject it.
You never know what a buyer is going to bring to a table. I mean,
You don't.
sometimes their needs are, we have to go with a specific closing attorney.
Exactly.
I mean, it could mean nothing to another buyer.
And now with the new way that real estate is being done, there's another level of negotiation that has to happen in a contract, and that's around the buyer's broker's commission. So when you list your house, or if you're a seller, your commission being paid to your listing agent is in your listing agreement. And it used to be that we would charge a full rate to sell the house, and then if there was another agent, we would share half of that, or 40% or 60%, whatever it may be. And that agent was protected through our advertisement with the MLS. The NAR DOJ lawsuit in 2024,
I know, time's flying.
yeah, it
We're
was
already
going on in
February.
23, then we got the settlement in early 24, and then implementation mid-24.
Goodness.
So that settlement changed how things are done. So now, when you list your house, you're still contracting with your listing agent, but you got a couple of options. You could do it the old way, but we don't have a way to advertise that commission clearly and effectively anymore. It's against rules. So what's happening more and more of the time is that the buyer's broker is including their compensation in the offer, and that becomes a negotiable point. So here's how I look at that. If all is great, we're under $500,000 for the purchase price, and the buyer is giving us a full price offer. I mean, as a buyer's agent, I would probably want around 3%, close to it. If we're over $500,000 or we're offering much less than what the property is worth, I would expect to negotiate that lower from the seller. And it all depends on the buyer's finances as well, because in some circumstances, the buyer doesn't have the extra cash to come out of pocket and pay for their buyer's commission. So the buyer's agent's commission does need to be absorbed by the seller side. That happens in negotiations. So if you're a buyer and you need to buy a piece of property, but you only have enough money for the down payment and you don't want to tap into your savings because you need that for the moving and repair, well, or maybe you don't have that extra 3% to cover, or 2%, whatever it is. When you're submitting an offer, you would just use that as a data point. That is our floor. If we're going to buy this house, these costs have to be included in order for this house to work for me financially. You always want to make the house a blessing, not a burden.
So this commission, to be very clear, is not set at any rate.
No.
We don't mandate anything. It is all negotiable.
Individual brokers can set their rate. And as the broker, so as Select Realty's broker, I can tell our agents, your rate is this. And then they wouldn't be allowed to charge less. So just know as a member of the public that if you go out and you're talking to a real estate agent and they're not willing to budge on their rate, it might be because they can't. Now, just because that agent and that broker can't budge on their price doesn't mean that there's not somebody out there who can. Shop the agent, not try and tell the agent that what they're doing is overpriced or that it doesn't work for you, because they have their expenses, they have their model. Their model is just what you're not looking for. That you're looking for something else if you're trying to save money there. So once we kind of negotiate the terms, Céline and I, we're going to go back and forth. You're going to counter me, I'm going to counter you. Maybe we're going to be talking in the background, trying to figure out the logistics around everybody to see if we can make a pathway for these connections to happen where it makes sense. And in this, we're going to discuss our due diligence time, which is where the buyer's doing their inspection, access, terms to the property, and then the buyer, once we're agreed, we're going to have a binding contract. So I send my final counter offer to Céline. Céline, you send it to the seller. It's acceptable by the seller. You then have them sign it and send it back to me. The moment The seller has signed it and you've given me notice and it hits my inbox. Now we're under contract. Now, fun thing to know is that you don't have to have your agent's signatures in order to be under contract in the state of Georgia. If they represent you and can receive notice on your behalf, in any case, the contract is between the buyer and the seller. Agents are witnesses to that contract, but we're not a principal in it. We have an interest in it, right? We're helping, we're working the file, we're getting paid for this, but we are not the buyer or seller. So if you're on Simply List and you're negotiating by yourself without help and you get the buyer's signature, your signature, everybody has a copy of it, the buyer's agent signature's on there, but you're missing Céline's, guess what? Everybody's still under contract because you're bound. Everybody has a signed copy of the contract. You're just missing a witness, and the witness doesn't change anything. So if you get on Simply List, you go into contract, you just send that offer in and we'll sign off on it the next business day and turn it back to you, just for procedure, because a lot of lenders want to see all that.
Yeah.
Once you're now, if you're negotiating back and forth and I sent you that counter offer, Céline, and before your seller signed off on it and you sent it back to me, maybe something changes. Somebody died last night, or somebody came home from work and found out that they're going to get relocated with work,
or a water main,
or I'm
huge, like a tree falls on it.
Something happened where
think of something big.
where the buyer no longer wants to buy the house, or this could be reversed. If you countered me and the seller changed their mind and said, I want to stay in the house. Well, what has to happen is the counteroffer that's out before it's signed and sent back, that's in an open state, right? It's not binding anybody. So the party that sent the offer can send a notice to withdraw that offer. So I send you a counter, a couple hours later, we don't have it back. My buyer changes their mind. We found another house. I send you a notice. We're going to withdraw our offer. Seller could be pretty upset, right? Maybe the buyer has a counter and they're at work and they can't sign it until tonight, but the seller got news that their relocation didn't go through, so now they're no longer moving, and the seller withdrew their offer. Now I'm the buyer and I have to start over again from square one. It happens. This is something that a lot of real estate agents don't exactly understand fully how notice works and how you can do that, but you can do it. And this is one of those areas that it's difficult to grasp because sometimes you need to visualize it out. But basically, you can terminate or withdraw an offer before it's accepted any time before they have signed it and turned it back to you.
Well, I mean, it's very simple. If you don't have a contract that's signed, then you can terminate it.
Exactly. And while we're on that subject, because we have to tell new agents this all the time, no, it's not enforceable when somebody sent you a text message with the terms that they'll accept if it's acceptable to you. Written correspondence outside of a contract does not make any impact on the contract itself.
Do you really get that question?
Yeah. That's a pre-licensing question a lot.
Wow.
And with new agents, when they're starting to negotiate, they'll go back and forth with an agent.
Yeah.
Them and the other agent, they'll kind of text back trying to kind of find
put it on paper
ground. But before it goes on paper and is executed, maybe another offer comes in. So the new agent is like, oh, we're having the deal, and then they just pulled it from under us.
If it's not on paper, then it's not real.
If you don't have signatures, you don't have anything.
No, there's no contract.
All. You have to read the contract.
Yep, always do.
Always. So, when you are negotiating contracts matter, the fine print matters, read it all, and know what you're getting into. Now, once we're under contract, we got to get to the closing, right?
Yeah.
So there's
a lot to do.
We got a couple of more situations that can arise when we're in contract that we have to negotiate. What's that look like, Céline?
Well, first of all, I'm going to be very nice to you.
I hope so.
Yeah.
You're married to me.
Well, this is a scenario. We're supposed to be, agents opposing each other, right? So I don't know if this is Hollywood drama or whatever it is, but, you don't have to be mean to the other agent.
No.
I mean, it makes so much more sense to be nice, level-headed, still
firm.
Yeah, hold your ground, but do it in a nice way. You know, I mean, nobody wants to hear an attitude. Nobody wants to hear these things that are negative. They're trying to make a living too, right?
No real estate agent wakes up in the morning, looks at themselves in the mirror and says, I'm going to do a shitty job for my clients today. No one does.
No.
So like you had a situation where an offer came in last year, and this was right after the commission changes went into effect. The agent actually submitted an offer where they would get paid nothing. And you stopped that. Like you recognized that was going to create an issue in the contract. You pointed that out. You coached them through that situation.
Well, it's understandable when, the laws change and everyone's trying to figure this out, then, we get it. You're going to have a hard time selling that to this party because their agent's getting paid nothing. That changes a lot of financing there. So you gotta figure these things out,
Yeah, and it also changes due diligence, because what happens is you go under contract with this big blaring boulder of a problem in the middle of it, and the moment that they realize that it's going to come back and bite you in the butt, because you go under contract, but now the buyer's in due diligence, and they figure out, well, the agent's not getting paid. Well, the buyer may find out, well, I don't have the money to pay the agent out of pocket, so we either need to go back and renegotiate that term and get it in, or we need to...
That's a specific incident, though. So, incident.
Yeah, you want to try and cut off potential problems before they happen, and that's the whole part of negotiation.
Right.
That's what we do.
Staying out of conflict, right? Like addressing these issues. Now, that's also something else that you need to keep in mind is keeping that communication. So I update my sellers even if there is no update. I'll simply send them a text saying no update. If we're on a tight deadline and we have maybe 2 hours left, halfway through that 2 hours, I'll say, hey, no update. You know what? That relieves a lot of stress from them. And then maybe they can continue to cook, without a little bit of that adrenaline pumping through them. It's always nice to be updated even if there is no update. And then also transparency, because what is it going to benefit you to not be transparent to your seller? Right? They're on your team. You're together and trying to get to the closing table. So, yes, work with them. I think a lot of people try to not so much hide, but not be their guide. And that's the biggest difference to me, is that you need to be their pal holding their hand and, helping them through this process, not trying to just get the sale. Which is not what you do. Yeah,
I've seen it go kind of two different extremes with agents. And these aren't, by the way, these aren't like the great agents, right? But people who are trying to figure it out, maybe starting their career. And they're either going to be really involved, like over the top, to the point where they could possibly scare their client out of the contract, or they're going to be the complete opposite, and they're going to be so hands off that the client's in it together because they're afraid of stepping on their toes. And really, an agent who, at least my opinion of a great agent, is somebody who's going to balance that.
I think a great agent would be someone who tailors it to the needs of the client.
Exactly. You're going to handhold where you have to handhold. You're going to give free rein where you have to give free rein. But in any case where you see something that's going to present problems, you're bringing that to their attention. And
being able to differentiate the people who need the extra, reminders and the updates versus the other people who are just like, I'm good. Mm-hmm. Right? Go along your day. That is also an art.
So I think you're totally right. Agents who are nice, they're firm, they're professional, they're good at what they do. You can be firm and you can be steadfast without having to, either be mean or, hostile or just aloof. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of take that either way.
So another task that we have is being their, not secretary, but like I said, guide, right? So there are many deadlines in real estate. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of paperwork, a lot of forms that the sellers probably don't know about. Lead-based paint, for example. Just because, they've maybe bought a home once.
DeKalb County plumbing exit.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, this is our profession. So, if you're moving from one county to another, you might have a surprise form where you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that existed.
Mm-hmm.
So it is our job to make sure that you have these done, the correct papers, and then also the deadlines as well. There's some firm deadlines and there's some wishy-washy deadlines, I want to say. It depends on what it is. And being able to differentiate those, if you're not in this profession, you won't know the difference between a deadline of earnest money versus a special stipulation.
Exactly.
Big difference there. One can actually ruin a contract, and the other you have to have a lot of other steps for to remediate. And you can't exactly terminate a contract. Well,
and sometimes knowing how to terminate that contract is important as well.
Yeah.
But when we're in due diligence, one other thing that I missed in my notes here is that when we're talking negotiation, we want to be based in fact. Okay, if we're negotiating on, so I submitted my offer to you. We went under contract. I'm representing my buyer. Now, the offer that I submitted was for the current condition of the property, empirically. Mm-hmm. Ooh, sorry, just popped there. Empirically, I see the property. I see the cosmetic condition. I think it's worth this. I'm not going to submit an offer and then ask for a $10,000 paint concession afterwards, because that would, I could see the condition. It wouldn't be in my best interest to negotiate in that manner. Now, if we do our inspection and we find there's some hidden defects in the property, those I can negotiate on because I didn't know they were there beforehand. So the things that I typically negotiate on with buyers, and this varies by buyer, but generally speaking, we're talking about deferred maintenance.
Health and safety too.
Yep, health and safety. Deferred maintenance being, the way I define deferred maintenance is in the course of reasonable home ownership, would I have fixed that or should I have fixed that? So if I have wood rot around the house, yes, I should fix that. It is deferred home maintenance, unless I've negotiated that into the price. If I have plumbing leaks, that would be something we fix. HVAC, we're going to fix. Systems, roofing, anything that's going to hinder the habitability of the house. Old electrical, double bonded taps on the electrical panel, or double tapped, breakers. Lots of things there can be found that are big issues.
And knowing when to ask for these things and how to ask for these things is our job.
Yes. You're going to be more effective in negotiation if you put one concise argument together that's easy to read and backed by data and support than it would be if you come and say, we go under contract, Monday we do our inspection, I ask you for a few things on that. And then Tuesday we get our radon results back and I ask you for something on that. And then Wednesday we get our termite and I'm going to ask you for that. And then I'm constantly amending this contract. It's a lot less efficient. I'm going to become a thorn in her side as the listing agent. She's going to want to work with me less. So I have to make her job easier throughout this process. One of the ways we do that, clean contracts, well written, easy to understand, clean, simple language, because fun fact, in the state of Georgia, the Georgia Bar Association grants the authority to licensed realtors to be able to write special stipulations and contracts under the direction of their broker. That is scary. We're the only profession that can write in contracts that doesn't require a 4-year degree. So it's important to make sure that the language is simple, clear, easy to understand, and when necessary, all special stipulations should be reviewed by an attorney. Highly, highly recommend that.
Yeah, no, what I was talking about really was, say, everyone's different, right? Mm-hmm. So say you have a seller who their agent knows that they want to see things up front or else they're not going to accept your offer. Mm-hmm. So you may be forced to, tailor your offer and counteroffer to that and then ask less in your amendment to address concerns. So you have to take that into consideration too, and that's the art form part.
It is an art, and as you mentioned earlier, it varies by market conditions.
That too. I mean, it's like the weather, farming. I mean, it's like growing something to completion. There's some things that you can prevent, and then some things that you can't, and then other things that you have to take into account.
Yeah, sometimes there's drought and sometimes there's flood, and you gotta accommodate either one.
Yeah.
When we had everybody competing and overbidding, one of the ways that we were able to win homes and contracts for our clients was through some of our vendors.
Our lender, yeah.
Yeah, we like Rob, who has been on this show before.
Hey, Rob Dower.
Hey, buddy. We would structure contracts that had a 5 or 6 day due diligence period, and Rob would have been working with our buyers to have all the documents ready before they were under contract. So when they go under contract, he would have a 72-hour underwriting, and by the time we're done with due diligence, our financing has a conditional approval, or in some cases, with your cousin, it was a clear to close in 7 days.
Yeah.
So we were able to sweeten the deal for the seller to basically say, we're going to take out the financing contingency from this offer. And we're going to have an appraisal contingency. And by the way, the appraisal got done in 7 days too. And we were able to kind of put that all into one clean 7-day due diligence.
That is not common.
It's extremely hard. And,
if you go to a regular lender, you probably won't.
15 years in the industry, and it's taken me this long to put this team together. It's a lot of work. It requires a commitment from the people. You have to have that trust with them. And so far, our team has demonstrated nothing but success when we've challenged them.
Yeah. They've always come through.
Always. And we've actually had them save deals on the seller side as well. When in Simply List, we'd have buyers whose financing would get screwed up. We would have them talk to Rob, and in several cases, they ended up going with Rob and getting the deal closed.
Do we have his contact information here?
We have it on the website. So if you go to selectrealty.com under resources, it's there. It's on previous episodes. I don't believe he is under the Simply List. We don't have a resources section on that website.
Let's see. We do have one here.
But it's Rdoer, RDOERR at ehomeloanadvisors.com or ehla.com.
Well, he's licensed in Georgia and South Carolina, and his phone number is 678-648-9884. I don't have his email.
Well, when you're ready to start the conversation about buying a house, we would love to be a part of that with you. If you want to be, if you have to sell and by all means, you can use Simply List on the sell side, and I'll represent you on the purchase side through the contract as long as everything makes sense and we're able to accommodate your needs. So we'd love to have that conversation. You can go to selectrealty.com, which is with 2 L's, SELLECT, or you can go to simplylistatlanta.com to learn more about those. And you can reach us at the office at 770-509-0265. But if you haven't already, one, I hope that you really enjoyed this. We try and focus a lot on the community and but also educate. That's the goal with this show.
Really local stuff as well. I mean, yes, there are plenty of great counties in Georgia in the metro Atlanta area.
They're just not as great as ours.
That's an opinion, not a fact.
It is definitely opinion, but that's why I live here.
But, since we do live here and we are part of this community, we like to focus on it just because we're hands-on with it. So we like to share that with you, people who are thinking about moving here, or, hey, if you're thinking about moving away, maybe you're going to be...
We can help you sell.
Maybe you want to stay here? I don't know. But if you don't, and if we don't convince you, then we'll help you sell.
I love Marietta. This has been my home since I was 11. I never want to leave. It is...
we did leave for the University of Georgia.
That doesn't count.
For school.
That doesn't count. We were back within a year after graduating.
Every time I travel a lot, every time I go to different cities, they've got their unique features. And I do enjoy it, but there is something about coming home to Cobb County.
Oh, yeah.
And it's this feeling of, relief? like calm, familiarity too, and I really do like it around here. There's everything, like the food hall at Marietta Square. There's a lot of community events, like, you know, during Christmas we have tree lightings. We have several tree lightings because we have so many people around here. There's just always something going on.
There is. And not only that, it's the people here. So Marietta in December was actually named the most generous city in the U.S. for the third time.
Wow.
It's the gem city because it's going to be hard to find anything like this anywhere else. We hope that you would love to call Marietta home, but if not, we're happy to help you find your home anywhere in the Northwest metro area. We'd love to assist you. Simply List can help you sell your home statewide. And, you know, on the full service side, we're here to serve you in the whole metro. So
yeah, give us a call.
We would love to be there for you. And if you can, please like and subscribe. Share this. We're available on your favorite podcast platform or on selectrealty.com, Spotify, and YouTube.
And book form.
Oh, yeah. And by the way,
we have to plug our book.
Here we go. From the ground up.
Book.
We did write a book. Actually, one of my clients called me the other day, and he's like, I'm on chapter 4. This is pretty good.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, so it's from the ground up. We talked to a lot of people about real estate investing and how it's done. The whole thing here was we played a game of Leapfrog where we bought a house. It was our primary residence, and then how we converted them into rentals and continued to buy additional homes while we were starting out.
It's a long-term game plan, so if it's a get-rich-quick scheme, no. That's not what we did.
This is very get-rich-slow. As a matter of fact, we're not there yet. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoy the show, and we will see you next week.
Yes. Have a good day, y'all.